Hey folks, it's time for Global Tarot Circle. Today's date is November 13th, 2019, and it's now 6:58 Eastern Standard Time, so we are 2 minutes away from our start time. So for those of you who are watching in archive on Facebook or YouTube, I welcome you, and please do play along and have some fun with us, although we won't be able to interact with you in the comments because, well, if you're watching an archive, we are not live. I do see people beginning to come into the room. I thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and hit us up in the comments and say hello. For those of you, hey, Mark, nice to see you. Glad you're here. So if you haven't been to Global Tarot Circle before, here's how it works. Linda, glad you're here. We start for the first half hour. We're here for an hour. And for the first half hour, we will be doing readings. And we do readings in a very specific format. Angie, Suzanne, Knit Faster, how you doing? Irene, glad you're here. TK, good to see you. So happy that you guys are all here. We're still a minute away from start time, and the room is already filling up, so that's great. Hey, Marion, nice to see you. So, most of you have been here before and know how this works. I'll go over it a couple of times. Hey, Julie, nice to see you. So, for the first half, from like 7 to 7:30, or whatever time it is where you are, the first half hour, we do readings. And what we do is we each pull one card, and so together we create a full tarot spread for the person we're reading for. Cheryl, good to see you, and you have a birthday coming up, my fellow Scorpio friend. So we may want to play with that, tarot and birthdays. That's always a fun one. So, Deirdre, nice to see you. Glad you're here. So we're going to start with what I call burning questions. That can be readings. If you have a question that you're willing to ask, we have a lot of tarot readers here getting their cards shuffled, getting ready to read for you. It might be a question about tarot, a card that you don't understand, a reading that you did that didn't make sense. Any burning question at all, we are happy to answer. Now, in the second half of our time together, hey, Joanne, in the second half of our time together, I've already collected from the Global Tarot Circle Facebook page, I've already collected a bunch of questions that we can play with in terms of tarot study. So this is a time for us to get together for fellowship, for readings, and for growth as tarot readers. And we really enjoy doing it with our tarot friends all around the world. We have representation here from Chicago, from Connecticut, from Florida, from the UK, Scotland, all over the place. And that's why we call it Global Tarot Circle. Angela, glad you're here. Catherine, glad you're here. So get those cards shuffled. Now, if you want to do readings along with us, we do move pretty quickly. If you can't get to every one, try to do every other one. Julia, glad you're here. Susan, glad you're here. So, who is going to start us out with a question? And I will let you know, this is my very first Global Tarot Circle from the new office. And in the background, you can see my chakra wall hanging that Joanne made me. Joanne's here with us today. And she made that for me, so it's kind of cool that you can see it. But, hey, Kimberly, nice to see you. I am hoping that we're going to have good technical connectivity. Of course, it is Mercury retrograde, so anything can happen. But we are ready for our first question. So those of you who would like to jump in and read, here's how it works. The question is for Suzanne. What might the universe want me to know at this time? I'm going to pull one card and give my answer. Anyone else who wants to read, You're going to pull one card, come up with an answer, and you're going to put it in the comments. You're going to put Suzanne's name, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. That's the format that we use. Now, questions are starting to come in, and I really appreciate that. If I miss you as it's rolling through, if I miss you, hey Joyce, glad you're here. Feel free to put your question back in. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next half hour, starting with Suzanne. What does the universe want Suzanne to know? Oh, 9 of Swords. I wonder if there's something that's really bugging you. I wonder if you're overthinking, if you're letting things get to you too much. This might tell you to lighten up, to take things more easily, that sometimes answers come when you stop looking for them. Let's see what other people have to say. Again, if you want to read for Suzanne, go ahead and put her name, Suzanne, the name of the card, and your interpretation. And I'll tell you, I am not a fan of one-card readings, but I am a fan of getting a group of people together where we all do one card to make a complete reading. So if we are reading for you, after I give you the card that I got, you need to scroll through the comments and see all the comments that are there for you so you can get your complete reading. Okay, Linda. Hi, Christiana. We just finally sold our house. Congratulations. We are so excited. We need new beginnings so bad. Do you see us finding a home we will love, or do you see us renting? Okay, and I see John Morani is here. Glad that you're here. And he's doing a reading for Suzanne, so thank you for participating, John. So, what do we see for Linda's housing situation? Is she going to find a house and buy? Is she going to rent? What's going to happen? If you want to read for Linda, go ahead and put her name. Linda, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. Okay. What do we think is going to happen for Linda? 2 of Cups. I think you're going to find a home that you love. I think you'll be very happy together. I feel good about it. Let's see what other people say. Okay. Hey, John. Are you my birthday twin? October 25th? Yeah. That'd be cool because all the best people are born on that day. Let's see. David, glad you're here. Kimberly, messages from the universe. Okay, if you can, if you want to read for Kimberly, and again, if you are doing a reading, make sure you put the name of the card you got as well, the name of the single card. Okay. Message for Kimberly. Any messages from the universe for Kimberly? If you want to read for Kimberly, go ahead and put her name, Kimberly, the name of the card, and the message that you received. 4 of Cups. So I would interpret this for you, Kimberly, as a message from the universe saying discernment. There may be some things in your life right now that you're not super happy about. You need to really sit and think about them. There are some things that you're just going to want to deal with and be okay with because you really are where you need to be and you're okay. There may be other things where you want to make changes, but no knee-jerk reactions. Contemplate, discern, figure out what really is serving you, even if you're not loving it, and figure out where you need to make a move. Okay. TK, will I be in my present job in December, January? Okay. What do you see for TK? If you would like to do a reading for TK, just put his name, TK, 2 letters, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. Will he be in his present job in December, January? And if you want a reading, you actually have to ask a question. Don't ask for a card. Don't ask for a reading. Ask a question, even if the question simply is, what does the universe want me to know? You have to formulate the question. Okay. Will TK be in his present job December, January? Queen of Wands, I say yes. Oh, but Julie, Nine of Wands, says probably not. So we'll see. There's a question there. We'll see. Okay. You're going to have to see everyone and see how many say yes, how many say no. See what that looks like. Denise. Oh, Denise likes the chakra hanging. It is pretty awesome, isn't it? Okay, Julie, what's the energy around me finding our next house? Let's take a look. Oh, and another vote for yes from TK. Okay, and again, don't just put the name of the card, put your interpretation as well. When you do a reading, it needs to have three things: the name of the person, the name of the card, and your interpretation. Okay, let's see. Julie, finding their next house. Okay, what is the energy around Julie finding the next house for her and her boys? Six of Swords reversed. It may take a minute. You're looking for something very specific. Things of quality have no fear of time. I would guess within the next 6 months, but it may not happen as swiftly as you would like. That's what I think. Let's see what other people have to say. Okay. Lots of readings going on. Lots of readings for Suzanne. Hey, Sonia. Will my husband's luck start looking better? What do we see for Sonia's husband? And this is a teachable moment because it's the dreaded third-party reading, where you do a reading for someone who is not present, who has not given their consent to be read. There are some readers who would right away say, no, don't do it. I disagree. I say, let's do it. And let's do it because it's all in the spirit of healing and helping. It is for Sonia because what happens to Sonia's husband affects Sonia. And we're looking for good things for Sonia's husband. So I don't see a problem with it. Just my opinion. Okay, if you'd like to do a reading for Sonia, go ahead and put her name, Sonia, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay. Yes, King of Wands. Well, in this deck, technically, it's the King of Rods. But I would think that, yes, things will be good for him. He will be feeling well. He will be doing well. I think things will be good. Okay. Okay, lots of readings going on. Kimberly Essex, I heard you were homesick today. I hope you're feeling better soon, but I'm so glad you could join us. What can you tell me about my life's calling? So that's such an interesting question. I'm just going to take it on face value and pull a card and see what we see. What can we know? What can we tell Kimberly about her life's calling? We have two Kimberlys here. One is Kimberly with two E's and one is Kimberly with a Y. So let's make sure we make that distinction because we just read for Kimberly with two E's. She wanted a message from the universe. Kimberly with a Y wants to know about her life's calling. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. And Julie says, yeah, we're all right. She's being picky and working hard at it and have had a new financial beginning. All right. Okay, Kimberly Essex, Kimberly with a Y, her life's calling. Ooh, Three of Wands. My friend, you already know what it is. You're already doing it. You just need to embrace it and do it more because you're awesome at it. How about that? Cheryl Watson, she's doing a reading. David's doing a reading. Lisa McCord, nice to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. What do I need to do to be successful for my next big project at work? Okay, for Lisa, if you would like to read for Lisa, what does she need to do to be successful for her next big project at work? Go ahead and pick a card, give her name, Lisa, the name of the card, and your interpretation. Judgment. So this is interesting because what it says to me is the project will go well. But your question was, what do you need to do to be successful? So judgment very often is about communication. So make sure you have good communication with your team members and with whoever's giving you this assignment. Judgment also says, be discerning and recognize your skills. Recognize what you do well. And if you have other people on your team working with you, recognize what they do well and delegate accordingly. That's what I would say. Judgment to me, though, would say it's a wrap. You will do well. Okay. Lots of, oh, John, you are my birthday twin. That is so awesome. Okay, Cheryl's birthday is coming up Friday the 15th. Hey, this is an interesting thing too. Do you have a particular tarot thing that you do for people for their birthdays? I do, and I'm going to teach it to you in honor of Cheryl's birthday and in honor of all the awesome Scorpios we have here. What I do is a 2-card reading. What can we say, because it's like your personal new year. So what can we say about the year that you're putting closure to, and what can we say about the year coming up? I'm going to do that for Cheryl, and I will ask the rest of you to do the regular 1-card draw as a birthday message, how this new year will be for her. So name, card, and your interpretation, but I'm going to do my special 2-card birthday thing for Cheryl. So Cheryl, the year you're putting closure to, Ace of Cups reversed. I feel like this may have been a year that you had to scramble a little, that you didn't always feel like you had the resources that you needed, maybe in terms of time or money or energy, or simply just your emotional emotional resources, we'll put it that way. So we're putting closure to that. And in this year coming up, the star, you're going to have everything you need. It is going to flow, baby. So get ready to welcome that flow. Heaven's healing light is poured upon you. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Okay, Maria. When is Maria going to get married? Okay, if you'd like to read for Maria, go ahead and put her name, the card, and your interpretation. When do we see Maria getting married? 6 of Wands. I think you already know the guy, or if you don't, you will know the person soon. And I'm going to say relatively soon, and I think it will be successful. Okay, moving forward. Lots of readings. Hey, Karen DuPont Porter from Connecticut. Nice to see you. And Kimberly said she prayed for more discernment. How appropriate. Very good. David Victor, my Florida friend. Okay, David wants to know, will I ever get enough freelance writing work to sustain me? I don't need a lot, just consistent. Thank you. Namaste. Okay, what do we see? Will David get enough freelance writing work to sustain him? And remember, when you interpret a card like that, you might even get information on what he needs to do to make that happen. Okay, if you'd like to read for David, go ahead and put his name, David, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. The moon reversed, it's there if you will look for it. Be careful about your attitude. You want to have an attitude of really welcoming it and expecting it and going and looking for it. It will be there. You'll be able to do this. Okay, lots of readings going on. Okay. Okay, Laura. Am I going to get a new job before January? Good question. Okay, if anyone would like to read for Laura, go ahead and put her name, Laura, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. Will she get a new job before January? And again, with a question like that, the card may come up to give some information about the type of job or what she needs to do to get a job. The Chariot reversed. I feel like it's going to be tough. I feel like you may have to put more into it. You may have to have a bigger commute. You may have to look in places you have not looked before or have not thought to look. So I think it's possible, but I think it's going to be tough. You're going to have to scramble. Hey, my friend Karen, I would like to know what my financial and love life will be. Okay, so that's sort of a double question. Typically in a situation like that, I would pull one card for each, one for financial, one for love life. But in this setting, I would say pull a card and interpret it. If you think it's both, interpret it to both. If you think it's love life, say that you're interpreting it for love life. If you think it's finances, say that you're interpreting it for finances. So if you'd like to read for Karen, go ahead and give her name, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation, letting us know if it's about flow in both love and finances, or if it's one or the other, which one. Okay. Love, I feel like there's some issues here. If there is already a relationship, the communication may not be what it should be. If there's not a relationship, you may be having a hard time finding the right person to connect with. The advice here is not to let anything from the past of a current relationship or the past of past relationships, get in your way. You may be looking to the past or hanging on to the past, or past anger or past hurt or past fear, in a way that is hurting you, and that may be about both love and money. Okay. Hey, Angie, nice to see you. Angie, am I putting my energy and feelings into the wrong guy? Good question. Let's take a look. So the name is Angie. The name, the card, and your interpretations. What do you think? The guy she's focusing on, right? Wrong? What do you think? Four of Wands reversed. If you were looking for this to turn into something stable, I do not think it is. So if stability is what you were looking for, then yes, this is the wrong guy. Sorry, that sounded really harsh, but yeah, there it is. Hey, my friend Celeste from Connecticut, how are you? Okay, Celeste. What does the universe want Celeste to know? If you would like to read for Celeste, go ahead and put her name, Celeste, great spiritual name. Celeste, the name of the card, and your interpretation. What does the universe want her to know? Three of Pentacles. You know, this is an interesting thing because it usually talks about career. But I think for you, it's about other things. It's about what you're building in your life. And to pay attention to what you're building in your life. And in fact, to recognize that your life is more than your job, more than your career, that you are building something solid and good for yourself and for the people and animals that you care about. Okay. So, knit faster. And I know you've told me what your real name is, and I don't remember, and I'm sorry, but I'm glad you knit. My mother was an amazing knitter, so every time I see your name, it makes me feel all warm and squishy inside. And she says, I drew Hierophant for TK, but don't know how it applies. So, good teachable moment. How does Hierophant apply to will TK be in his job? You know, the thing is, the Hierophant is an authority. And so, Trisha is Knit Faster's name. I will try to remember that. I am a better psychic than I am a rememberer, so we'll see how well I do. Please don't be offended if I do not remember it. Okay, so how would Hierophant apply to a job? It would not really say yes or no to whether TK would be in his current job in this particular time frame, but it does speak to his skill and his ability and the idea that he would very likely be in a job using his skill and ability one way or the other. That's where I would go with that. Okay, lots of readings going on. Make sure if you're doing a reading for someone that you put their name in. We've got a lot of readings going on. Hey, Kathy Lombard, so nice to see you here. Oh, good question, good question. Kathy has a date Friday night. What do the cards say about that? I love these kinds of questions. Okay. So, if you'd like to read about Kathy's Friday night date, Kathy's name, the name of the cards you got, and your interpretation. And Cheryl Jefferson, nice to see you. She pulled the Queen of Pentacles for TK, did not give her interpretation, but that is a very good card for work, one way or the other. Okay. Kathy has a date Friday night. What do we see there? Page of Cups reversed. I mean, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. You may feel shy. The person may feel shy. Communication may not flow. Conversation may not flow. You may not be feeling the energy. No, Laura, you cannot ask another question. Come back next month and ask another question. We will have a hard time getting to everybody's questions in the half hour that we have. So this is not fatal, Kathy. And if it's just about shyness, you probably want to give this person a chance. If you're not feeling the energy, then don't feel like you need to give it a chance. So from my perspective, it's going to be one thing or another. Either there's shyness, in which case be open to giving it some time. And if it's the energy is just not there, let it go and find somebody else. Sorry, I was more excited than that. You guys ever have that happen? You're really excited about a question, then the card that comes up is like, well, whatever. Sorry. Okay, Lauren, my friend from Connecticut, nice to see you here. Lauren wants to know, do I need a plan B for my present job situation, as in, will it become unbearable? Lauren wants to know if her job situation will become unbearable. And before I answer that, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for doing readings. And I really appreciate that those people who are being read for are commenting back and thanking and giving feedback. That's what we're supposed to do. We are a big circle all over the planet right now, helping each other out with this marvelous freaking tool. And the fact that we're able to communicate with each other in this way is just a wonderful thing. So thank you for being part of it. And thank you each person for taking your responsibility here to read, to ask questions, to be grateful, to give feedback. It's an awesome thing. And I really thank you all for participating. Okay. Lauren, will Lauren's job become unbearable? If you want to read for Lauren, go ahead and put her name, Lauren, the name of the card, and your interpretation. Death. So we all know that this does not necessarily predict a death physically, beyond the fact that we will all die eventually. But honestly, Lauren, in no uncertain terms, I think you do need a plan B. I think you want a change. That's what it really comes down to. And I think that a change is available to you. You are smart, you are creative, you are talented. Really consider making that change. That's what I think. Let's see what other people have to think. Okay. So there was a reading for Kimberly, not sure if it was for Kimberly with two E's or Kimberly with a Y. If that can be made clear, that would be good. Let's see, looking for more questions. Okay, Linda Rogers. Linda wants to know how her birthday will go next month. If you'd like to read for her, put her name. This is a different Linda. We read for another Linda earlier. So Linda, a card, the name of the card, and your interpretation. How will Linda Rogers' birthday go next month? Knight of Swords. I think it'll be good. I think you may go on a trip, or you may learn something new, or you may spend it with someone that you really enjoy. Okay. Hey, Catherine Horace. Okay, how will things go for me at the event this weekend? Is this an event where you are reading cards, my friend? Catherine has an event this weekend. How will it go? If you would like to read for her, go ahead and put her name, the name of the card, and your interpretation. Eight of Cups reversed. There may be some challenges there, but you're going to have to stick it out and learn from it, and you will do fine. It won't necessarily be easy. Okay. And we're not doing second questions from people, so I'm scrolling by a few. But come back next month. We do this every month. If you want to know when it's going to be, you can keep an eye on my newsletter. You can keep an eye on the events on my Facebook page, where you are right now, or you can join the Global Tarot Circle Facebook group. Just find it and ask to join, and you'll find out. We don't do it. It's not like on the first Wednesday or, something like that. It's really whenever I can fit it into my incredibly busy schedule. But you won't miss it if you do one of those things. Join our group or keep an eye on my newsletter or my events. And if you have questions, you can ask them then. And of course, you can always book a reading with me or any of the number of great readers in our thread right here. Okay. Hey, Marion, good question. Why has the Six of Pentacles decided to be my new stalker card? What a great question. So what's a stalker card? A stalker card is a card that follows you around for a while. That anytime you do a reading for yourself, this card pops up a lot. That's a stalker card. Also could be called a frequent card. And she's wondering why the Six of Pentacles. So there's a couple of things you can do here. You can do that as a reading. You can ask, what is the Six of Pentacles meaning for Marion, and pull a card and give your interpretation. You can also just share your thoughts for Marion by putting her name and your thoughts as to what the Six of Pentacles could mean. I have thoughts right off the bat that I'm going to share, and then I will pull a card for it. And I think it has to do with you as a tarot reader. I think you are really finding your tarot voice. You are finding your voice as a reader. And the Six of Pentacles really is about sharing your bounty, sharing your gifts. And I think this is telling you, remembering that 6 is the number of glory and service, that you will find your glory in service to others in this way. Now, Celeste says the Hermit is her stalker. That actually makes sense, because no one more than you wants to be on top of a snowy mountain without too many people around. It also speaks, of course, to great wisdom. Okay, but a card for Marion. Why is the Six of Pentacles stalking her? 9 of Pentacles. Because you need to be confident in your skills and share them with others. There, see? Okay. So Joanne says, back to the birthday reading. For a birthday, I count out the cards in years, and the card for the birthday age is the one I read. Oh, that's really smart. But what do you do, Joanne? If okay, so Cheryl's 73. Oh, no, there's 78 cards. So that would work. Really, unless someone's 79, and then I guess it would be the first card on the way back around. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. Lisa says about her job project, this is a major change and a big step in the career. Okay, we are at 7:33, and I am looking for last questions. I feel like we are ready to wind down our questions. And again, I thank everyone for participating. Okay, there's just a couple more I'd like to get to. My friend Maria from Lima, Peru. Nice to see you. She wants to know if she's on the right path. We're going to do her. We're going to do Billy. And those will be our last two questions. And then we will get on to our tarot study portion of the program. Although I think you'll agree that in doing these readings, there is a certain amount of tarot study involved in this as well, isn't there? Okay, if you'd like to read for Maria, go ahead and put her name, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. Is she on the right path? The Tower. Depends on what you want to do. If you are ready to create radical change for yourself and others, then yes, you are. But you know, when we talk about the Tower, sometimes we look at this card and we say, yeah, no, I really don't want to do that. So let's see what other cards come up and see what you want to make of that. The Tower is a really positive thing. It's about spiritual enlightenment, but it's not an easy path. So let's see what other cards come up. It's powerful anyway. Billy, this will be our last question. Should we take our 6-month cat, that 6-month-old cat maybe, on a 2-week trip to visit family 1,000 miles away or leave him with a caregiver? Bring the cat or leave cat with caregiver. The name is Billy, the card you got, and your interpretation. Shall the cat travel or shall the cat not? Wheel of Fortune reversed, I would say with a caregiver is going to be better. All right, go ahead and finish out those readings. Let me take a sip of water. I want to thank you all for participating with that. Okay. Now, how do we decide what we're going to talk about in the second half of Global Tarot Circle? We do it by participating in the Global Tarot Circle group on Facebook. I ask for questions, people give me questions, I print them out, and that becomes our topic. So if you want some control in what we talk about in this section, make sure you join that group if you're not already a member. All right. The first one, and this, Suzanne and Joanne had similar questions. Joanne wanted to know about Mercury retrograde, which we're in right now, and you probably know that on Monday, Mercury took a trip across the sun, which is something it will not do for like another 30 some odd years. What Joanne wanted to know is, does something like Mercury retrograde influence the cards, and might the reading be different before, during, or after such an event? I would love to know what you guys think about that. And I have to say, my clients ask me this all the time. I have some clients who will not have a reading during Mercury retrograde. However, I think Mercury retrograde is a really powerful time for working on particular things, to the point that sometimes I have special readings available during Mercury retrograde to use the energy of Mercury retrograde. Now, depending on which Mercury retrograde it is, because each one is different, Mercury retrograde can be very good at looking at the past, healing from the past, understanding the past. And so I particularly like to do those kinds of readings during a Mercury retrograde. I do think that during a Mercury retrograde, we have to be more careful about our communication, about how we're heard, about what we say. I think that it's easier to piss people off during a Mercury retrograde? Is it easier or harder to hear what the cards are saying? Mercury certainly does bring out all the problems and questions, yes. So in a way, maybe it's better. Let's see, what did Angie just say? Angie says, I think readings are different during retrograde. Things are very emotional at this time. Absolutely. Julie says Mercury retrograde is a great time, especially in Scorpio. It's a time to rethink, rewind, reevaluate, especially with a specific topic, to do a reading with a specific topic. Linda says, I think it does because it's retrograde and it's about communication, miscommunication of all sorts. Celeste says, I believe Mercury retrograde affects everything, including readings. I think it affects our words. Sure. So those are all some things to think about. I mean, if you're a full-time professional reader, you are going to read during Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes into retrograde 3 times a year for like 5 weeks at a time. So, we're all doing readings during Mercury retrograde right now. And from what I can see in the feedback, people are feeling like the readings are accurate and appropriate. So clearly it can be done, but I think we need to be more careful. Okay. TK, Mercury retrograde looks like low slumber time for business. David says, I'm all about communication, and Mercury retrograde usually kicks the stuffing out of me. Suzanne, this is a funny one. I fumble and drop the cards more at this time. Mercury ruling the hands. Sure. So that's good. And now Suzanne had asked a question about something related to the recent Taurus full moon and its associations. So can anyone ring in on that? Now, we talked about reading during Mercury retrograde. What about reading during a full moon? And do you have any particular thoughts on full moon in Taurus and what that says? As far as Mercury retrograde, Marion says, I think it can affect readings. However, it's good to know where Mercury is in the client's natal chart in correspondence to what sign the retrograde is in. Oh, very good. Very interesting. So what about that full moon in Taurus, Marion? What do you think about that? And as far as like reading during the different phases of the moon, I'm trying to think about that. I think because I'm not a good judge of this because I am so steeped in what I do. I do readings pretty much every single day. In all phases of the moon, through all different retrogrades. I'm smart enough not to get my hair cut during a Venus retrograde. I know that. But I feel like there's always going to be things that will help you and hurt you in any situation. And it could be astrological. It could be what you ate for lunch. And you have to try to mitigate the things that hurt you and maximize the things that help you in any situation. So Marion says, full moon in Taurus. Oh, missed it. Okay, here it is. Full moon in Taurus is a great one as the moon is in one of its happy places. Julie says this Taurus full moon was unaspected for the most part, so a very grounding time. Very interesting. Joanne says the moon controls emotions, so that has got to have some effect on either the reader or the client. Sure. So it's an interesting thing, especially if you are a person who either professionally or just in your spiritual practice works with tarot regularly every day, to really think about how these different things affect you. And I will tell you, quite frankly, the thing that affects me most is food. I have to be so careful about what I eat before I work, to not feel sluggish, to not feel weighed down. I work a lot of parties and people want to feed me before I go to, sit down, have dinner with us, and then do readings. Oh, no way. No way do I want to do that. So I feel much more affected by those sort of immediate physical things than the astrological things, but I know those things are a factor too. Catherine says, I don't think a full moon affects a reading more than it affects any other aspect of life. It happens so frequently, it's baked into the rhythms of life. TK, yesterday was the beaver moon, so beautiful. Yes, man, the moon was really, really lovely yesterday and the day before. Okay, so now let's move on. We're going to go now. What time is it? Okay, I've got a few things that I want to talk about here. We've got 3 more topics. From Susan, good readings versus great readings. How to phrase your interpretations in the most useful and helpful way. Tarot do's and don'ts when reading for others. And Julie says eating and reading is a thing. Right? Right. And people always want to feed you because that's a sign of hospitality. So when you go to people's houses, they want to feed you. And Suzanne says physical things, very full moon in Taurus, right? Right. And that's what we're talking about. So there's that. There's that. Okay. So for readers and for those who have readings, here's a great question. What makes a good reading versus a great reading? And thank you, Susan, for this question. What is the best way to phrase your interpretations? What are some tarot reading do's and don'ts when reading for others, either professionally or casually? Has something happened to you in a reading that you didn't like? Has something happened to you in a reading that you did like? Go ahead and share, and let me share some thoughts. I think one of the big challenges, and this is true for astrologers, it's true for tarot readers, is we have like such a visceral TK, I'm addicted to hot chocolate since I started reading tarot. Any reason? Yeah, it's because I serve hot chocolate here in my office. Silly. Kimberly, don't feed the psychic. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that we have such a visceral understanding of the cards, or if we're talking about astrology of the planets, and how do you put those in words in a way that the person can understand? And I think that's a cognitive skill, it's a linguistic skill, but it's also a psychic skill. That, the cards have a particular energy, but you have to be able to speak about that in a way that is pertinent to the situation. For instance, let me find okay, so the Knight of Pentacles. If the Knight of Pentacles comes up, you could talk about being grounded and moving forward and all of that. But is that going to make as much sense as really talking about where someone is in their career, or whether they're going to be doing some business travel? So I would say trying to bring the cards, which can be very metaphysical and spiritual, into the physical realm, giving people clear direction and a clear reading. Okay, here we go. Cheryl's laughing about hot chocolate. Joanne, I feel more comfortable face-to-face doing a reading, and it seems to flow easier. When I read or pick one card, such as we do here, it sometimes feels awkward, like I'm not explaining the card the way I normally would. Yeah, one-card readings are hard. Julia says the words we speak are so powerful in themselves. Jerry, hey, nice to see you. So glad that I'm catching the end. Excellent. Glad to see you. Julie, I think a great reading is when you are heard by the reader. Like when empathy is expressed and you really connect, and when the information is really heard by the client. Oh, and then Linda's making a Gremlins reference. Don't feed your psychic, especially after midnight. That's freaking awesome. Okay. I love it. All right. A question from Kimberly. How to do deep, in-depth readings. Okay. Here's what she said. It's dawned on me that I've been doing mostly readings on psychic lines and at events, and I'm not sure I'd know how to approach the longer readings I used to do. And this is a thing. If you're a professional reader, you may do a lot of quick hit readings when you're working a cattle call at a party situation. Let me just see what Susan has to say. I use the question to anchor the reading and come back to it again and again in the reading and try to leave them with multiple practical options. Beautiful. I love that. I love that. Okay. So as a reader, you may be asked to do 5-minute readings, one after another, and then you may be asked to do an hour-long in-depth reading. How do you go back and forth? How do you compress a reading to fit into 5 minutes? How do you expand a reading to fit into an hour or more? We'll handle that in a minute. If you have any thoughts, type them in. Jerry says, I've been reading for a woman who is diagnosed bipolar. She gets the Chariot in relationship to where that part of her life is at the moment. Interesting. David, I don't want to know the question until after the reading. Client willing. Is that a mistake? I don't think so. I kind of do the same thing. I think that if you read that way, you will know the question as soon as you look at the cards. Very, very often. So no, I don't think that's a mistake. I think that's a style preference. In this case, the card is literally and figuratively, Jerry Lynn says. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. I love it. All right. So here's my thought on timing for readings. You know, you go into any tarot group and they'll say, well, how do you do short, quick hit party readings? Just give them 3 cards. I hate that. Here's what I do. And you don't have to do what I do, but I'll tell you what works for me. I use the same damn 11 card Celtic cross, whether I'm doing a 3-minute reading, a 20-minute reading, a half-hour reading, or an hour-long reading. I always start with that. If I'm just doing 5 minutes, I'm going to look at those 11 cards and I'm going to pull out the 3 most important things. I'm not reading every card. I'm not interpreting every card. I'm deciding what's most important, what's going to be most hard-hitting, and I'm dealing with those. If I have 20 minutes, I'll deal with a little more. And typically what I do is I use those 11 cards, back to David's question, I'll use those 11 cards to figure out what the questions are. I will share with the client, these are the things I think we need to dig into. And the client will either say yes or yes and also this. And then I will just pull a couple of cards for each question and answer the questions. Andrew said, wow, I guess it never occurred to me. I don't ask questions, I read and go with it. Sure. And Jerry Lynn does the same thing, same 11 cards. So the thing is, you don't have to interpret every card you pull. That's the important thing. Now, sometimes, if I have a long time, if I know, I have some people who want to be with me for 2 or 3 hours. I'm not kidding. And in that case, I may go through every single card and talk about every single card and how the cards connect together, the different trends and the different groupings. And some people really like to hear about that. They like to hear about the cards specifically. And some people do not care at all about the cards. They don't care whether I'm reading cards or dirty napkins. They don't care. They just want the information. So I try to be very sensitive to the people I'm reading for as to whether they care about the cards or not. Now, even sometimes, the people who don't care about the cards, there will be a card that is so significant that I do have to tell them about it. That happens. Joanne says this, and this is really important. I don't always read the cards in order either. No, you don't have to read the cards in order. Jerry Lynn, I call the 3 cards for clarification against the 11, the sidebar 3 cards. There you go. So So we all have, Celeste knows what I'm talking about. I prefer not to answer a question. Then she mentions 2-hour TED. Yes, 2-hour TED, exactly. And you always wonder going in, what are we going to talk about for 2 hours? But at the end of 2 hours, sometimes we wish we had a third, quite frankly. So the thing is, everyone's going to have a different style. And as a tarot teacher, I always say, I can't teach you to read how I read. I can only help you discover how you read best. Linda, oh my gosh, you must be drained with one person for 3 hours. Not really. The worst thing is like when you really have to pee. That's the worst part. Other than that, it's okay. That said, me and my friends do it, but not like a pro setting like you. Yeah, well, if you're doing it with your friends, you can get up and go pee. No, seriously. It's okay. It's okay. Billy, I've never considered not reading every card. You just set me free. Right. And, generally it's in the interest of time. That as in anything, you can edit out what's not important in this context. Yes, every card is important, but not every card is going to be important in the context of the 5-minute reading at the carnival. Joanne says, I lay down 5 cards before any question is asked. That usually tells me what the client needs to know, and it evolves into the question, the situation. Jerry says, I get up and pee. My clients are fine with it. Now that I'm older, I'm probably going to have to start doing that. Good call. See all the things we talk about here? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. One more thing. This was a question from TK. TK mentioned that there are different eras. The brass era, the brass age, the stone age, the industrial age, the age of technology. And he has a feeling that with 2020, we're coming into a new age. And he is wondering if there's a way one can use tarot to talk about something on that big level. And I think we probably could, and I just see what David has to say. Because I'm a storyteller as a writer, I do enjoy revealing each of the cards in the Celtic cross as it unravels the reading. And that is a great reading style, to go from card to card to card and put it together and tell the story. What I say to people that I work with that are professional readers is you should be able to do a reading in all of these styles. You may have your preferred style that is your go-to style, but you should be able to do a great card by card in the order reading. You should be able to look at a spread and pick out the most important points. You should be able to start with groupings. What are the groupings and what do they say? You should be able to do all of those and have all of that in your toolbox, because at different times you're going to feel like doing different things, even if you have your preferred style that you do most of the time. Does that make sense? So what do you think? Can you use cards to talk about something as monumental as a new era or a new age? And do you believe that there is a new age coming? And could you use the cards to describe it? So as a final exercise, I think this will be fun. I want you to assume that 2020 brings us into a new age. I want you to pull one card and name the age. Now, before we do that, the tips I'm seeing fit with what I've learned in order to do faster readings, skipping cards and such. Wondering if anyone could add specific tips for the longer readings. Yes. Wonder if it's really that the longer reading clients are harder to come by, but it's also hard to slow myself down so I don't feel done in 5 minutes. Pull more cards, ask more questions. You can supply questions too. Have a very curious mind. You may answer the client's question like that, but then you're like, yeah, but what about this and what about that? Let's pull some more cards about this and that. Do not be stingy with your cards. Pull more cards, ask more questions. Very often in a reading, I'll say, well, you know what the real question here is? It's this, let's look at that. And the client will be like, yeah, that is the real question. So use your intuition to come up with more questions. You can also spend more time talking about what you see in the cards. But really, longer readings to me equals more questions. And if the client's not supplying the questions, then you need to. That's what I think. From Jerry Lynn, my intuition is wanting me to tell someone sitting right here, right now. It is tough not to get into telling people what the cards mean in the reading. You've said before that people ask, it's a distraction. Often when a card is like the Ten of Swords, the Death card, Three of Swords, any of the scary-looking illustrations, I tell people they are irrelevant without the cards paired with them. Totally agree. For Marion, different styles for different readers. Cards can be used for any reason, any question, any situation. Susan would say majors only to describe a new age. Catherine, what a fascinating question. I think tarot is perfect for big questions like that. Julia speaks to David. What an amazing combination. Reader and storyteller, your readings must be great. Jerry Lynn, what can you do for the highest good for the potential outcome, what you see in the cards? And Kimberly, okay, thank you, Christiana. I used to be so good at digging deeper and deeper at parties. Like, seriously, we only have 5 minutes here. Right. And you have to use both muscles. Okay, Laura has started our exercise. Thank you so much. 2020 is the Ace of Cups. Seems like it has to do with divine knowledge and seeing from a different perspective. Okay, I'll do one. Ooh. 10 of Swords reversed. 2020 is the beginning of the age of truth. How about that? We could use some of that. Joanne says, I often pick up on something in the cards or what the client says, and I'll say, let's ask that question or study that further and see what the cards tell us. You can always find questions in the cards. Yes. Suzanne, Page of Swords, the age of new ways of communicating. The voice of youth is paramount. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm loving this. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. We are coming to the end of our time together. We can continue this exercise. Let's see. Julie, Ace of Wands, age of reformation, age of potential. This is beautiful. Jerry Lynn, Page of Wands for 2020. The age of truth, says Angie. So you can go ahead and share a few more here if you want. Go on over to the Global Tarot Circle group and share your age reading there. This is a fun exercise. Irene, Seven of Cups, manifesting your desires easily. Knit faster. Trisha, lovers, compassion for each other. Hallelujah. We could use some of that. TK, Six of Swords, progression from bad to better. And Julia commented that that's the card I started with. Yeah, no doubt. And I have shuffled. David, Two of Cups reversed. Sadly, lots more fake news and deception. Okay, so that's very good. Before we go, if you want to do a minute of shameless self-promotion, just drop your link. If you've got a blog, a Facebook page, something you want to share, drop a link. Catherine says, Nine of Wands, 2020 will be the end of the old world. Humanity will be beginning the hard work of ushering in the new age in earnest. So I'm going to give you my shameless self-promotion. From Joanne, the moon, age of psychic intuition and emotional development. Hallelujah, we need that. So my website, christianagodet.com. I am available for readings and tarot mentorship by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, or right here in my Palm City office. If you happen to be in the area, we have our Cards and Conversation meetup in Palm City at Panera this Sunday. We also have some classes coming up. And we also have on December 15th, our holiday open house. If you're in the area, love to see you there. We have people flying in for this event. So it's going to be a big event. Want to see you there. Thank you all so much for being here. And if you're watching in archive, we appreciate you as well. Thank you, everyone. It is so great to be able to gather here together with you. I will look forward to seeing you next month and seeing you around either in person or on Facebook. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for being here.